Welcome back to the Make It Count podcast.
I'm Marcus Mire, founder of Mire Group CPAs and the Total Control Accounting System.
I'm Tyler Warner, small business owner with a lot of accounting questions. Today's episode is all about workplace theft and embezzlement.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's sexy and scary.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, right?
That's a
depends on what side.
Yeah.
It depends which side of this you're on.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
Are you the listener or are you the, what? Not the perpetrator. What's the person that gets the victim?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's more common than you think, man.
Yeah, so these are 35 examples. So full disclosure, what we're going to do this episode is I found an article with 35 small business examples of employee theft and embezzlement. And basically what I'm going to do is just kind of run them through or you just present them to you, Marcus, and just kind of, we often talk about like the convenience of cloud accounting.
Yeah.
And we've hit on a little bit about like the protection that it offers, but this will kind of really put it to the test. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm curious because in full disclosure, I have not heard one of these.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no clue what you're about to tell me.
Some of them may be duds, and some of them might like, okay, a guy walks in and just at gunpoint.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure your accounting solves that.
Yeah, exactly. Zero's not going to do much about that for you.
Your internal controls, I don't think, that's what we call management override.
Yeah, right. So, So let's just get started. So the first example they have is voiding transactions at the cash register.
Ooh.
Oh, I don't even know how you begin to do that.
Okay, dude. This is the classic high school, college kid working at the local dive burger place.
Okay.
So this is I took cash for your order. I rung you up, right? I rung you up your burger, fries, and your chocolate shake, and that was $12.50. You pay me $12.50. I put the $12.50 in my pocket. I void the receipt. That transaction didn't happen.
Okay.
That's like 101, theft 101.
Gotcha. So that seems like most point of sale software would take care of that, right? And that's probably why they have cameras.
Yeah, and then you've got the old school registers, which I forget the button you have to push. There's a couple of buttons you push. I haven't done it in so long where it just makes the drawer open.
Yeah.
And like you're making change, right?
Yeah.
But that's it. Very simple. Void it. So that would get into what are you looking at? What catches that? I guess would be the question. And the question is, you could catch that one of two ways. One way would be if you knew your numbers, meaning if you knew cost of goods sold at a place like that normally runs X percent of sales, right? Like it should be 30% of our sales, let's just say. If they're doing this here and there, again, that's not going to give you that. But if this is something prevalent, then that should be one thing. Second thing is if you have any type of output from the register, look at voids. See if there's a frequency of voids. Is it a certain person, a certain time, this kind of shift? Is it the shift of two people at night, 7 to 10?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. You start to pick up on some trends. I'll give you a real life story. We used to my uncle and I owned a roly-poly franchise. You remember this?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Okay. We had a manager we thought was stealing from us. Well, what we did was we noticed that when he worked, sales went down. So what we did, we went into him and said, look, man, you've been working a lot. Why don't you take a couple of days off? Just a couple of days off. We got so-and-so, they'll run the store. Sure enough, sales are up 20%.
Wow.
So, again, we were watching the trends.
Yeah.
The trend said he's the outlier, the common denominator of the fraud.
Was there a specific sandwich of the 327 sandwiches that he often voided?
I think he was what was he? He was a basil cashew chicken kind of guy.
Jeez, man.
I know.
There's like 17 million sandwiches in there. It took me forever to order a roly-poly.
Hey, just do the roll your own.
Yeah?
You just pick everything you want.
That's even more endless options.
I know, but you make it yours.
All right. Well, we're on number 2 of 35.
We're on a tangent, by the way.
Let's keep it going. Pocketing cash payments from fundraisers. This seems real nefarious because it's a fundraiser.
Pocketing cash. Jeez.
Yeah. So I guess it's kind of the same thing. You may collect donations that aren't counted right away. I mean, that's just probably just.
I guess the takeaway from that is, you should have. Man, how would I catch that? How would I? Some of these I don't know if I'm going to have an answer to, but I would say there needs to be something that the donor leaves with to verify a donation. Like I'm thinking of even something as simple as carbon copy paper, where you had every donor knew they had, in that example, had to get a receipt, and then when you went back to the carbon copies, you couldn't match up the sum of the cash to the sum of the carbon copies, maybe.
Yeah, this is reminding me of what we say all the time: juice being worth the squeeze.
Right.
And I think, okay, 5 years ago, you're having a sausage po' boy fundraiser or whatever. Maybe you accept cash.
Yeah.
But I feel like, man, we're almost at the place now where like it's so easy to set up a Square, set up some sort of like. And just not even accept cash.
That's a great point.
It prevents that altogether.
100%. That's why some businesses are going cashless. There's a place in our hometown in River Ranch. It's a neighborhood, which is in call it, what is it, Everbowl? It's an acai bowl place. You ever seen these?
Yeah.
They're super expensive. I love them, by the way, which is a problem. But they're cashless.
Yeah.
So you Apple Pay or your credit card. It's awesome.
Yeah. And I know that's a whole nother. Maybe we should do an episode on that. Like why that's.
Well, I think they say inordinately discriminates against poorer people.
Okay.
Is the thinking around, because like there's cities that have banned cashless restaurants or any kind of cashless business, like Philadelphia, New York, I think banned, and the people were doing it to avoid fraud, and they banned it, saying it's discriminatory against certain people.
And I get it. There's both sides of that.
I think there's something to that.
Maybe we'll explore that in another podcast.
Okay.
All right, number 3, cashing customer checks.
Was it cash or cashing?
Cashing. An employee sets up a bank account with a name similar to the company. Then they can cash customer checks. I mean, we're seeing some checks.
Okay, yeah. So a couple things here. If we're picking up on trends, checks and cash. If you can avoid them, avoid them. I've had plenty of clients. Plenty is maybe a strong word. I've had multiple clients get stolen from with check fraud. Okay, how would you catch this? Well, your accounts receivable should tell that story, right? If you've billed somebody, if you've got somebody's paying you by a check, you should have an invoice associated with it. That's step one. How does somebody pay you? Well, they pay you based on an invoice, right? So you could check what's your cadence for checking accounts receivable? Is it every week? Is it daily? Is it every month? When you notice people that are 30, 60, 90 days overdue, you call them, they say, no, I paid that. That's the way to ferret that out. But it's just something around watching accounts receivable.
Okay. Good deal. What about number 4, overbilling customers? Have you ever seen this one?
Ooh.
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure out what's the motivation.
An employee may charge customers more than your company's rate for a certain product or service and add on extra fees and pocket the extra money.
I'm trying to think how they would do that unless it's cash.
Yeah, I guess
right.
So.
If they could do something where they ring up the sale for a little bit higher, but then maybe like we're just saying, void it and in the computer put the regular sale price or something like that. That's an interesting one.
Yeah,
I don't think I've heard of that one too much.
Yeah, you're right. That one would be kind of hard to pull off if you're not dealing with. I mean, unless you're taking like actual cash and you just say it's $40.
Yeah, Yeah, some employers might thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. Overbilling our customers. Thank you.
Yeah. Forging payments, writing checks to themselves, transferring funds from the employee bank account.
Yeah. Okay. So this is classic segregation of duties kind of stuff. You should never have somebody that has the ability to have access to the money and also the record keeping of your money, right? So you shouldn't have somebody that can write a check and then account for the check.
Yeah.
So they can print a check and sign it and send it to their new company, Acme Investments LLC.
Yeah.
And they've got the record keeping for that, and they had the custody of the assets. So you just want to have the ability for somebody to approve accounts payable that's different from the person paying it.
Yeah, and 2, I mean, that's not even an issue with just checks. It's very easy to set up PayPal accounts or your own. I mean, what we talk about all the time is how easy it is now to set up a business and accept payments online.
Right.
So you could even tuck it away a little, make it even less obvious, like if it's some online payment and you can control what the debit card reads with a Stripe account.
Right.
So, I mean, you really...
But that would get into...
You can forge digital payments as well, is what I'm saying.
That would get into some of the things we do here, which is oversight around spending. Are there transactions? Do they have a receipt attached to every transaction? So that's a first kind of thing that's going to mitigate it. Are there approval levels when money goes out the door, your organization? So can $500 go out the door without you as the owner touching it or approving it?
Yeah.
Something to think about.
And I guess what I'm hearing too, you say a lot is like, you got to know what raises the flags.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it sounds like you probably need to be defining, like, obviously looking at data. And this is interesting. It goes back to just, if you're not collecting the good data, I'm thinking about the roly-poly deal.
Yeah.
Like, you have nothing to compare it against.
Yeah.
And then two, if you don't know, you're just able to raise some flags like, okay, every time we spend over X amount, well, that's a flag that's raised and we can just quickly see, all right, a receipt's attached, bingo.
Self-audit. Go in there and say to your team, hey, I want to look at, which you shouldn't even have to if you got it digitally. Just go and look at every transaction over a certain amount. Just look at them. See if that receipt's attached. Look at the invoice. Does it look suspicious? I mean, you get some big companies. I mean, obviously the data gets big and the risk is bigger because there's more dollars and there's more transactions. It's harder to find this stuff.
Yeah.
But if you set up proper protocol around segregating what people can do and then approval levels, you can start to mitigate a lot of this.
Yeah, and without much hassle either, like you said, because a lot of it's just it's part of your process.
Yep.
This one seems real direct, just stealing customer credit card data. I mean, I don't know. That one's...
Yeah, I'm thinking about that here. We take people's credit cards, but nowhere do I know them.
Yeah.
So they are in a third party. We use Ignition. And so Ignition does our quoting and invoicing for our monthly recurring clients. And then Zero, through Stripe does payments. We never see that information.
Yeah,
so
that's
I think
that's
that would
a
be
really good policy. I mean, that reminds me of like the website days when we had to be like, PCI compliant and things like that. And like
PCI compliance.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Forgot about that.
But that's the point. Is like basically there's a third party that
they've got to be PCI compliant.
Yeah, exactly. They meet those compliance standards that would be really difficult for small business, and so it is like everybody kind of knows this instinctively now, or they know this now. But at the beginning, we would have to explain to people like, no, we don't have your we don't have your clients' credit card information. Yeah. We don't, like, if we set up a retail store online, like, we're not holding all those credit card.
Yeah.
It goes through a third party. And I think now, even with people that are not retail, I mean, you guys are not a retail operation, but you still accept, credit card payments.
And have them on file. And I say on file, we don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Our provider does.
Yeah. So you can charge a card, even though someone that you can charge their card, but they could never walk in and you're like, I don't have your credit card information.
Correct.
That's what you want to do.
And I will say this, one thing that's, as you're saying this, I was working with a company to make some hats. Mm-hmm. And this company out of Pennsylvania, very reputable, like big company, and they needed my credit card and they had to take it over the phone, which was interesting. And now that I'm thinking, I'm like, even though I know better, and I'm thinking in the back of my mind, if they were going to commit fraud, it's American Express, I can kill the transaction, I got protection. But I had to give that over the phone to like this guy named Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking to myself, to that point now, where's that written down? On a sticky note in his office?
Yeah.
What if he just gave me a secure portal to enter my... I'm surprised they didn't.
Yeah.
It's so easy to do.
Yeah. And I mean, consider who hired Nathan. You know what I mean? That guy has to trust that he's not taking your credit card information and going home and like, subscribing to sommen or
100%. And how would he know?
Yeah. So yeah, bad deal.
Yep.
Don't do that,
Nathan.
Yeah. We're watching you, Nathan. 8, double dipping. Let me see what this is. Is that intuitive to you? I don't know what that means.
I think
I'm thinking
my
chips and
my
dip.
mind went to dessert, but anyway.
Yeah, I'm thinking Seinfeld and Did you double dip? Yeah. Okay. Employees may collect extra money from your expense account by first charging the expense to their company credit card and then requesting reimbursement funds as if they paid it for themselves.
Boom.
All right.
So how do we stop that?
Yeah. You tell me.
I'm curious what you think.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand.
Okay, so this would be...
let me see if I can... So you basically... I go to Outback.
Yeah, bring a customer to lunch.
Customer to lunch at Outback.
Yes.
And I return that... I put in that receipt 2 times.
Correct. And you spend the bottom line is you spent on the company card, not yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I turn that in as a personal expense receipt too.
Right.
So I have to duplicate the receipt, I guess.
Yeah. You'd have to have the same receipt twice.
Yeah.
So that's a really good one, actually. I've never even thought of that. How would we stop that?
Yeah.
So, well, you could.
I guess you can't if you're diligent with receipts.
Yeah, I mean, the only way, that's a very, very like specific example. But here's something that you might do. What if you said we don't reimburse on company money? We don't do one or the other. You always have to spend and we reimburse you, or you always spend on the company money and you report back to us. Still, like, meaning you can't double dip because we don't do both. You never can get, so if you're going to go on the company dime, meaning, let me back up. If you're going to spend something for the company, do it on the company issued credit card we gave you. Mm-hmm. Because we will not reimburse you for something you paid for personally. Now, that maybe is harsh, but that solves that problem. Policy would save that problem.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure, other than some procedure to check receipts or check duplicative amounts, but then you could bury it. You could say, I've got 4 receipts that I paid for personally and 7 that I paid for on the company money, and that receipt's in both of those stacks. Mm-hmm. I don't know how you catch that other than policy.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a good one.
All right. Yeah, hopefully we're not giving people ideas here.
Right. Right. No, we're talking to the owners who are thinking about how people can steal from.
Yeah. All right, let's see if we can make it to 10. We're not going to do all 35.
Okay.
Maybe we'll do this as a series. We'll see. Yep. We'll see what the people want. Yeah.
Right.
But number 9 is misusing an expense account. This is similar, but employees may also request reimbursement for expenses that aren't related to company functions. For example, they may try to get a personal lunch covered, even if they weren't meeting with a client.
Yeah, I mean, that's some of that. I don't know how you stop that, honestly. Other than your culture around asking questions and being diligent and getting people. Like, I just don't know how you stop.
And patterns too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're on a sales team and it's often that you're taking people to lunch, then that isn't going to be a flag that gets raised when you see, $100 at a steakhouse or whatever.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If that isn't the case, but again, that is where people take advantage when they, right? I mean,
the salesman's the guy who's going to do it, right? Because if he has 9 receipts, what's 10?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's the guy who's going to do it. I don't know there's a good solution for that other than your culture has accountability and you do random audits.
Yeah.
And again, you'd be asking them, hey, what did you do? And if they can explain it, I'm not sure you're getting away. I'm not sure you're solving the problem just by auditing them and say, hey, can you explain what it did? Yeah, it took, so-and-so from, this company. I'm not sure how you get around that.
Yeah. And I think too, you mentioned culture, like you keep tying the money back to the purpose of it. Yeah. So if the sales manager is asking the salespeople, hey, what was the result of this meeting? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're looking at 10 receipts, it also tells a story that, hey, that's 10 meetings. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What came from it?
Yeah. Who cares? In the ideal scenario, who cares about what you had for lunch? But if you're never able to talk about the results of the meeting, then that should be a red flag too.
Yeah, and I think one premise of all this is, and we've talked about this with fraud, if somebody's going to steal from you, if they really want to steal from you, they can. You can put guardrails and safeguards and policies and all this stuff, and that's all best practice. But at the end of the day, somebody can perpetrate some of these things.
Yeah,
just the way it is.
Sure. Yeah, but
you can make it really hard.
Yeah, exactly.
And minimize the damage. Stop it 1 or 2 times, right? Mm-hmm. Quick transactions, because what do people do when they want to steal from you? They start small. Ask anybody who's been embezzled from. Nobody ever had the bookkeeper in house or the office manager steal $25,000 first. Yeah. It was first $75.
So you're saying no one ever does the scenario where they rob and go to Mexico.
Correct.
Like that's just something we say, but
that's in the movies.
Yeah.
That's like the Office Space where they were rounding the digits off at the end and collecting,
But even that, I mean, it was accumulating.
It was in a day, but But you get my point. I mean, if we would go talk to people, and it might be actually if people would be willing to talk about this, that we could find people that this has happened to, because it's very common. How did it start? And how did it finish? I guarantee you they'll say it started small.
Yeah.
It started with $100, $25, $75, $300.
Maybe even an accident.
That's a really good point. And they said, damn, nobody even saw this.
No one even saw this. I accidentally spent on my personal card or company card or whatever.
Yeah. That's a great point. I pulled the wrong card out. I'm at Costco.
Yeah.
Spent $250. I was buying,
Yeah, and
that's
no one said anything.
No one said a thing. We're on to something.
Steak night.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's crazy how that. You're right. That is. I mean, that's just that's got my wheels turning. Just so much of life, you know what I mean, and how things go south. But 10. We'll end with this.
Okay.
Misusing employee discounts.
Ooh.
Okay. If a store or restaurant offers discounts only to employees, some may attempt to offer those privileges to friends, family, or others.
Again, not sure how that would go down, how that would be caught.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just one of the...
Yeah, this reminds me of the roly-poly thing again. You know what I mean? If you're noticing, like...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's... much of this, I think, is... That's what innovation does. Innovation solves problems that people... I mean, it's like why it's like why there's now crazy seatbelts, and 30 years ago there was no seatbelts. Like, because people needed... You get where I'm going with this.
Yes.
Like, so people... Long-winded way to say software is solving these problems, you know? So where now you probably can generate a report on your POS system that says, okay, how many discounts were used today?
And compare that to the shift.
Yeah, exactly.
Because when do most people get a discount? After they work. Mm-hmm. Most of the time. You stick around. Remember, I used to work at... I forget where it was. I was a waiter somewhere, and they used to say, "Hey, just take your shirt off." Not you had like a nice shirt and then an undershirt on there. We don't want employees sitting at the bar eating. Mm-hmm. They would say, "Take your shirt off." So meaning you were staying after your shift to get a bite to eat.
Yeah, yeah.
So do we notice that there's an inordinate amount of employee discounts on the POS system when Josh works?
Yeah.
Or name your thing, like
Nathan again.
Yeah.
Add it again.
You know what I'm saying? That data catches that.
Yeah.
Or should. Tell the story. Yep.
Man, I think you've given us a lot.
Yeah.
We've got through these first 10. I'd love to try to get through all 35, but I think we need to pace ourselves.
No, this is good, and it makes me think a lot about the movement of money in an organization and what you can do around that, and procedures and all that kind of stuff. And again, just having policies in place, best practice, software, culture of accountability, data that tells a story can really, again, maybe not cut off everything, but catch things in their infancy, I think would be a really key thing to do. Is that, hey, okay, stole $200, but he didn't steal $200,000.
Yeah.
And anybody that's had this embezzlement, again, I'm making the point again, started small, it got big. Again, even if it started small by accident.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Well, I hope you've got your wheels turning. I hope we didn't scare anybody.
Right.
But,
or encourage anyone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Don't steal. Don't embezzle.
We bought both
That's
at
the
the same
disclaimer.
time. Yeah, exactly. Don't steal. Don't embezzle. But we've also got, these are some great, easy, low-hanging things to start with to prevent this and feel safer and create a high culture of accountability and trust.
Absolutely.
Well, as always, go to Mire.group. You can find all of our podcasts there, and you can get in touch with Marcus and his team and reach out. This is the kind of stuff that they do. I mean, it's all about looking at businesses, how to run them better, more efficiently, more compliant, protected, without all the hassle that it has taken to do that in previous years through the power of cloud accounting. So reach out.
All right.
Till next time.
See you guys.